And this week has been quite busy with Dr Mpho Phalatse ousted as mayor and Dada Morero elected, and today being officially sworn in. Let's get the perspective now of Professor Duvenhage. He's a political analyst. Prof, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. Before we get into his swearing in and what we heard from him in terms of his plans for the future, that's Mr. Dada Morero, I do wonder what you made of this week's developments, particularly yesterday with the removal of Dr Mpho Phalatse.
Thank you for interviewing me, but the point I like to make is it is very, very concerning the tendencies with regard to coalition politics. In general, we have seen a majority of coalitions failing. We have seen problems in Pretoria, Ekurhuleni, Nelson Mandela, and now also Joburg. And my take on it is, generally speaking, municipalities under control of the DA coalitions performed a lot better than those under the control of the ANC. And with this 50-50 scenario we are in terms of support, I can predict that we may see other forms of instability yet again. But what is clear is the ANC need the support of structures at the moment. They need structures to support them towards the 2024 elections. That is why control over metros like eThekwini, Ekurhuleni, Joburg and Pretoria, as well as Nelson Mandela, is so critical, important to them. But for me, it's a reason of concern. I think that we need to understand that when it comes to coalition politics, the agreement and the integrity is very important. And we have seen the appointment of a COPE speaker, which was a way to buy people over. And we are not going to get stable and good governance if it is going that way.
I do beg your pardon. In terms of your assertion that the coalitions under the DA-run municipality were performing much better, we heard from the new mayor, Dada Morero, believing contrary, that under their term, at some point in time, the finances of the City of Johannesburg were stable. And he's also admitted that the ANC has made mistakes, but now promising a little bit better in terms of actually implementing on some of their proposals. It still doesn't go some way to allay fears, if you will, of the general public?
Well, I think it's a bit of an unfair comparison. You need to take about 25 plus years of ANC control in comparison to opposition control of only a few months, and not a strong opportunity to turn local structures around. Talking to local government specialists, it will take you anything between 3 to 5 years to turn municipalities and also metros around. So I think it is unfair of the ANC to make that claim. If you look at general criteria for good governance at the local level, you will find that the DA municipalities, specifically in the Western Cape, the majority of them are falling under the 10% best managed municipalities. On the other side, the municipalities under the control of the ANC is quite the opposite. 80 to 90% of these municipalities are facing severe challenges. But I agree there's a lot to do when it comes to local governance, and my take on it is that parties need to cooperate in this way. And I would rather see that parties like the ANC and the Democratic Alliance come together and they work together for a better future. But unfortunately, the political realities of South Africa, specifically on a national level, the nature of the political ideology of the ANC, which is revolutionary driven, make it impossible to cooperate in terms of good governance and democratic forms of governance.
Please expand on that. What do you mean, Prof, in relation to the ANC's revolutionary ideas hindering good governance?
The core of the ANC ideology, and there is consensus about that, is that they follow the line they call the National Democratic Revolution. And this revolution has three phases. It's about the political takeover, then it's about the control of the production factors, and then at the end, the outcome should be a socialist, communist type of state where you end up with equity and equality and all these values. And the problem is that they should use violence. They also justify different forms of control and control over structures to attain these goals. My take is, if you work in a democratic environment, you need to have respect for your opponents. You need to accept the reality of differences among groups, and you need to go for compromises. And that is not happening. At the moment, we are still fighting racial battles in the country. And you will find that if you analyze elections, the race factor is still one of the most important factors determining electoral outcomes. And to me, that is a concern. We need to build bridges. It's taking time for big groups to come together to develop an understanding to take government forward, because we are increasingly enter an environment where no party will achieve an absolute majority. And when it comes to democracy and democratic governance, it's all about stability in the middle ground. Democracy is not about revolutionary thinking. It's about stability, it's about freedom, it's about tolerance, it is about respect. These values is critical and will become even more important when it comes to coalition politics.
Prof, with all due respect, the revolutionary thinking and the ANC that you just described a few moments ago sounds like the ANC of the 80s. The ANC of 2022 has been accused of adopting neoliberal policies that have actually failed to move the country forward.
Well, if you look at the core document of the ANC, Strategy and Tactics, you will find the central theme is the National Democratic Revolution. You have most recently seen a lot of policies that are very populist in nature, that would like to control literally every aspect of society. What happened in practice was that due to a set of circumstances, a lot of these policies were liberal in terms of outcome. But the problem is not always the policies. It's the lack of implementation. But at the core of the ANC ideology, and you will find all ANC people, also within the tripartite alliance, they agree on the central principles of a revolutionary ideology. And the revolutionary ideology can't be accommodated within the framework of a democratic constitution and a democratic state. Revolution is all about the overthrow of existing government and structures.
Professor Andre Duvenhage is a political analyst. Thank you.